Peering through the iron grating, you can see how it connects to the strange pipe. The blessed altar seems to want to be touched. The altar seems to respond. Beyond it, something creaks, as if the pipework was moving. The sound comes from beyond the altar, but also echoes and gurgles behind. The blessed altar seems to want. The altar seems to respond. A blessed stone altar. The cool stone seems to beg to be touched. In the space beyond the altar, the pipework shifts. The altar seems to respond. Beyond it, something creaks, as if the pipework was moving. The sound comes from beyond the altar, but also echoes and gurgles behind. A blessed stone. The altar seems to respond. A blessed stone altar. The cool in the space beyond the... The altar seems to respond. A blessed stone in the space beyond. The altar seems to respond.
Venture no farther. Only death lies beyond. Blood need not be spilled. Bones need not be broken. Preserve thyself and flee. To cross this threshold is to plunge into thy grave. Do not decide in haste. Very well. Embrace thy fate.
Me. Charming.
Careful. I've spotted a trap. Careful. I've spotted a trap.
Moving to rapid and cranial disruptor. Moving to reinforcement deployer. Combat in progress. Seeking damage opportunities. Opportunities. Good night, Papa.
I'm ready.
Combat in progress. Seeking damage opportunity.
There's no end to them.
Just keep coming. Look around. There's got to be a way to make them stop.
Moving to noxious atmosphere. Noxious atmosphere. Hazardous concoction vessels generated. Combat in progress. Seeking damage opportunity. Damage opportunity. manipulation. Moving to orifice manipulator. Moving to orifice manipulator. Moving to orifice manipulator.
Careful. I spotted a trap.
Careful. I've spotted a trap.
Moving to orifice manipulator. 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 Moving to orifice manipulator.
Careful. I don't think that was the right lever.
Moving to orifice manipulator. Moving to orifice manipulator. Combat in progress. Seeking damage opportunities. Ignite a car.
Careful now. That's a trap. Careful now. That's a trap.
Careful. I've spotted a trap.
Nice. Careful. I spotted a trap. That lever did something. I could feel it. Captain feels like that lever did something. Something happened, I think. I heard gears moving. Let's leave her.
You reach for your weapon, but as the small Voidwoken skitters forward, you get the sense that it's not here to fight. It looks at Fane, clicking and chittering in excitement, and introduces itself. Fane starts in shock. He knows it. The Voidwoken was a colleague from Fane's days at the Academy, his assistant. It claims it knows how to save the Eternals. It promises Fane that if he can snatch the powers of the Seven, then he can restore his people. Not under the rule of the God King or the Void, they would finally be free. Fane turns away, pensive and quiet. Even as a skull, you can see the pain etched into his face.
Do you know, this Ark's place doesn't look half bad. Important does not do it justice. She tells me there is a way to save my people. The power of Divinity could bring them back. Not as monsters, but restored to their former glory. I could have my old life again. On the surface, yes. But what does that mean for... well, you? The Eternals cannot be eternal without the source your god stole from them. No, if they return, they will reclaim their source. The source that was used to create you. If the Eternals come home to this world, we will live in it as your masters. You will be our slaves at best, our food at worst. I'm not sure. I need to think about this. It's just... they're my people. Although... well, so are you. I'm sorry. I can't talk about this right now.
The truth hangs heavy upon the air itself, unspoken. This is the point of no return. Somewhere beyond this point, you shall be undone, or you shall ascend. There is no middle ground.
What's that, Quercus? Do you have something?
My goodness. Here we are, Quercus. This is it.
What do you mean, Quercus? Of course I'm prepared. I have my noble steed below me, and my trusted shield beside me. What more could I need?
His whiskers crack into a mischievous smile.
And I may have cracked the spell that will stop the great acorn in its furious tracks, if that's what you mean. That's right, Quercus. We've done it!
Sir Laura turns to you, his beady eyes shining with pride.
I owe you an apology, Shield. At the start of our journey, I wouldn't have believed a human would lead me to the discovery that would save us all. But I see now that my prejudice was foolish. Without you, Quercus and I might still be stuck on that abominable prison island. Now, here I am. Here we are, on the brink of saving the world. Indeed, Quercus and I will find an advantageous location and do just that. Meanwhile, you must prevent the servants of the Acorn from interrupting us.
Sir Laura takes a slow, deep breath, and lets it out in a rush.
You feel it, don't you? It's so still. But there's something behind it, too, like a thunderclap waiting to fall. The great acorn is nearly here. Its servants are poised for impact. We've known this moment would come. Now it is time to put my research to the test. I am ready. Quercus is ready. And you, Shield? What say you, Quercus? That's good enough for you? Then it's good enough for me, too.
Salora grabs your pinky with his tiny paw. He gives it a decisive shake, then salutes.
No matter what happens next, Shield, there's something Quercus and I want you to know. It has been an honor. Now, onward!
Come here often. I don't know what you did, but you just released a source flood. I thought I'd come and see what all the fuss was about. Should have known you were getting yourself into trouble. Looks like the big moment has finally arrived. I will do everything I can to support you, Godwoken. I will pray for you. I think you'll need it. Don't underestimate the power of true prayer. This is a place of incredible power where a single prayer holds the weight of thousands. Your heart and soul will fill as quickly as they're drained. Consider it a taste of your divine future. The people will pray for you. In turn, they'll trust you to do right by them, as I'm trusting you to do now. Of course, it's up to you whether or not to listen. I know how I'd respond, but you do you.
Malady wearily chuckles to herself, then bows her head in a show of unexpected but sincere reverence.
Looks like my investment's paid off after all.
I need worship, only one divine, and I believe he stands before me now.
Now go. Rivellon needs a new divine.
If I'm Godwoken, Dallas said you would come, old friend. You were always hard as diamonds, and twice as bright. Your divine welcomes you.
The traitor himself, the divine you once selflessly served, the one you thought dead, lords over the chamber from a granite throne. He moves to speak, but it's Riedeman's voice that next pierces the air.
What a twist.
Lucian frowns at Riedemann, then bestows a benevolent smile upon you. All that you know of him flashes across the panorama of your mind.
I underestimated you, Godwoken. You have proven to be a formidable foe. You have my respect.
Respect? Indeed.
Lucian's gaze rests upon you and goes through you. He takes your measure entirely.
Lucian, we should tell him the truth.
Yes, I agree. It is time we dropped our masks.
Dallas nods, then reaches for the sides of her head. Where there was one face, suddenly there are four. She takes off the mask of the shapeshifter. A skull is revealed, bejeweled and ancient as the void.
I am eternal.
Aren't they just full of surprises?
Fear not, old friend. Dallas is on the side of all that is good. She is helping me rid Rivellon of the influence of the Source. Listen to her.
I shall tell you the tale as I told it to Lucian. Long ago, the Scholar Fane discovered that the veil between the world and the void was made of Source. Our 7 lords desired this power.
Of course.
Silence, slave. Our king forbade the 7 to reach for this power, but they didn't listen. Instead, they rebelled and sent the king and his people into the void.
With the Source they stole from the veil, the 7 created the races so they would have worshippers.
During their lives, worshippers collect Source. When they die, the gods feed from them. It's an ingenious system.
Our souls are nothing but vats for the Source-hungry gods.
The 7 made a mistake. By taking its source, they tore a hole in the veil, and it is through this hole that the void finds its way into our world.
The 7's lust for power let in the void. Our goal is to close the hole they created, to restore the Source to the veil. When we are done, there shall be no more Source in the world. Rivellon will be finally free from the gods that enslaved them.
My people cannot be allowed to return from the void. They are tarnished. They are void-woken. They can only bring chaos and death and...
There is more, but she hesitates to share it. Then she decides that she must.
I was a child when the God King tore my family apart. I was purged of Source and left to rot in a putrid tomb. A child. It was hell. A hell I suffered for the sins of my father. He was the one that betrayed the God King. He was the one that told the 7 the secrets of the veil. The cruel joke of it all is that the same tomb that housed my tortured body is what sheltered me from the void. Few Eternals escaped that fate. Myself, my mother, and Fane. Yes, Fane is my father.
What? No. It can't be. Everything Dallas did. It was all you. Child.
Everything I did to fix your mistake. Our people. Every purged sorcerer. Every dead magister. All those weeping families. They're on your head, Father. But now I have revenge. Revenge on the 7 and the God King. Revenge for what they took from me. My life. My people. My mother!
The hammer's voice falters and her coolness vanishes. Every crack and rasp betrays her grief. but her next words burn not with sadness, but anger.
Did you even look for me? Did you even look for her?
Dallas, control yourself. Our purpose transcends your personal wounds.
Yes. You are right.
Dallas's reasons weren't mine to question. All that ever mattered to me was peace. Peace for Rivellon. Peace for me, whatever the means. And now, we are on the precipice.
She sacrificed herself for the betterment of Rivellon. She didn't do it willingly, mind you. Curiosity led her to the tomb. My hunger for source took care of the rest. I presume her bones remained there. And then I took her place. Face rippers are such marvels, aren't they? It didn't take long to realize that Lucian was the key to my vengeance, and I was the key to the salvation of Rivellon.
While Dallas sought the Aetheran, I started draining the gods of their source.
Slurp, slurp, slurp.
One more word from you, and I shall use the leash.
I had to hide from the gods. So I had the walls of this crypt equipped with tenebrium and protections put in place. It worked. Everyone, even the gods, thought me dead. As divine, I was created, empowered to stop the void. I was the avatar of the Seven, their strength and their weakness. My bond to them allowed me to drain them of their source.
Yes, in a sense. When the Death Fog was unleashed, many elves died. With fewer elves to worship him, Tias and Dilius weakened. This gave the God King his first real foothold back in the world. To strengthen himself, he sent his Voidwoken, the remnants of my people, to hunt down the sorcerers seeking to reclaim their source.
The Voidwoken. Disgusting things. They ravaged the land they touched and infected the air they breathed. They were also an incredible stroke of luck. You see, blaming the sorcerers for Voidwoken made them easier to capture.
The Aetheran now contains almost all of the source the Seven stole. Soon, we will be able to heal the Veil.
The void shall be banished, and I, Lucian the Divine, shall return from the dead. A false divine, of course. I shall have no power, but the world will not know this. I shall demand peace, and we shall have it.
The plan is almost complete.
We have made so many sacrifices, Ifan. All of us. Of ourselves and those we love. One last sacrifice is required. For the future of Revellon, you must surrender your source.
Decide. Be the true hero and give up your source, or be forced to submit. Like a coward.
There is no other way. The source of the world is required to close the veil. All of the source. We only lack yours.
As I say, one last sacrifice is required. Yours. We already had more than enough Godwoken.
Another sacrifice I was forced to make. Those beautiful people. I was as kind as I could be. I promise you that. Alexander was Godwoken. Once, years ago, I should have killed Damien, but instead took him as my son. Quite the mistake. Now, I was forced to kill Alexander, my blood. But once more, I could not.
The task fell to me.
And me. Maggot, I am no slave. I am Brachus Rex. I am the Source King.
With a flick of her wrist, Dallis sends a jolt through Brachus's body. He writhes in pain.
Don't worry, he's well under control. He's made a fine servant. Isn't that right, ingrate? I used him to find the Aetherin. When we're done, I'll release him from his duty and free him from his pain. Until then...
Dallis punctuates her statement with another wrist flip. Brachus shudders, but his lips remain curled in a self-satisfied grimace.
I do not expect you to approve of my means. Only the end.
We are not afraid of being the villain to your supposed hero. We're not nice. We're just right. Good. You understand?
The world shall not know this. I shall return from the grave, a divine without power, yet all who desire power shall fear me. I shall carry the secret of my lack of divinity. Peace shall reign. Ifan, my friend, these were sacrifices that had to be made. You were but one. Each of them pains me, but I would make them all again. I made so many sacrifices, Ifan. And now, so must you.
Then let us proceed. Show some responsibility, Father! Surrender your source!
Sealing the veil will lock our people away forever. They will never be free of the void. Though if they return, what becomes of this world?
Fane turns to you. In all the time that you've traveled together, you've never seen him like this. He's trembling with emotion.
And you, my fellow adventurers. Together we have seen more than generations of mortals could ever see. You have seen the horrors of the void, and I have seen this world through your eyes.
You'll be a hero. Everyone will know the sacrifice you'll make. Your name will be synonymous with the survival of Rivellon.
Don't let them do this to us.
But... souls? There has to be another way.
No, never.
Yes. Very good.
She raises what looks like a leash. A chuckle emerges from beneath Vriedemann's hood. The chuckle becomes a guffaw, booming and hateful. Dallis flicks her wrist. And nothing happened.
Oh, Dallas. Sweet, simple Dallas.
How? What? The leash is cut!
A bright observation from a bilious imbecile. You know people often become sloppy when they're close to achieving their dream. You left the leashing wand next to me, you stupid maggot. So accustomed had you become to me, pretending to be your slave.
Kill him.
Do shut up, you tedious buffoon. And don't look so surprised. As if I would allow a bone bag to enslave me. Me! Yes, I am the one true king of the Source. He who shall be God of the Source. It is time for my divinity! Or did you really think I'd play slavishly along with your ridiculous scheme, Dallas? Yes, I played my part of the servile stooge. But know this, it was only about the power of divinity.
Kill him now.
Too late, you mouldering, blight-stained pigs. Grant me power, my ally. God King, I call on you! You would interrupt Brachus Rex. You would interrupt the Source King! You shall redefine suffering. The God King hears my call. He sends a companion worthy of my power. Come to your father, my pretty father. Come to the Source King.
yield to none.
once more, perhaps even for good. Dallas, badly weakened, looks to you.
The future of all that is depends on you, and you alone.
About power, I mean. I was always kidding myself that I could only help my people if I were free. Lead them by example, you know. Thing is, I can never be free. So I must choose the Dwarven people's liberty in exchange for my own.
I know you'll have my back when I return to them, just like I've got yours.
Beast bows in return. There's no denying the glint in his eye. Whatever the future holds, he is game for it.
Well then, this is, as they say, it. I never dreamed that after all this, I would be standing here with one of your kind, let alone that I would be proud to do so. I cannot imagine someone I would trust more with divinity, including myself.
Thane lays a bony hand on your shoulder, squeezing gently.
Do you know? I believe you will.
Yes. Is it? I can hardly believe it.
She casts her gaze around the crypt in awe.
After everything we've been through, after everything we've seen, here we are. Here I am. And now that I see godhood before me, I know what I have to do. Chief, you need to ascend. There's no one I would trust with this responsibility but you. I know you'll do what needs to be done, what ought to be done. And I know you'll do it with style. They'll never know what hit them. Now go on, shoot. You've got business to attend to.
You think back on your journey here, on all that you have seen and done. You think of the Magisters, and the sorcerers they hunted, and of the good and the evil on both sides. You think of how the Eternals came as Voidwoken to reclaim their stolen world. You look at the source around you. The power is immense. Divinity at your fingertips. You think of what you could do with such power. The rights you'd wrong, the wars you'd win. You marvel at your journey and how it has changed you. You think of those you left behind, and of those you met along the way, who stood by you or against you. It's time to choose your fate, and the fate of all you hold dear. What shall it be? Shall you be divine? After all that you have been through, and all that you have done, all that you have become, the Aetheran lies in front of you. Divinity is yours to take, or to sacrifice. What you do next decides your own fate, and the future of the world. What shall you do with divinity?
And so it ended. A tale that began with my own ill-fated attempt to rid the world of the Godwoken. Dallas the Hammer, the secret Eternal, purged the Godwoken and used the Source to close the veil to the void. The world was saved. Statues in memory of the Godwoken who sacrificed their Source were erected all across Rivellon. They would never be forgotten. The half-demon Malady took pity on the soulless, God-woken silent monks and brought them to the Hall of Echoes. There, from the scraps of their souls that remained, she restored them to life. Sorcerers no more, they lived out the rest of their lives, freed of the burden of being the God-woken, freed from the weight of the world. As for me, I was already free, and so were the others. The God-woken sacrifice severed the bond between the Sworn and the God King. To atone for my sins, I spent the rest of my days taking care of the sick and elderly, telling the story of the God-woken, that the world may never forget the greatest heroes Rivellon had ever known.
Well, well, look what the cat dragged in. A silent monk. At least that's what you would be if it weren't for Malady. To be fair, you are barely more powerful than one, now that the source has been ripped from you, and even more ripped from me.
Malady stands tall and proud, sunlight sparkling off her mask. From here she looks almost angelic.
Ah, there you are. More than a silent monstrosity, less than a god. In the end, I'm not totally convinced it was worth my while to restore your consciousness, seeing what you've done with it so far. Where did I go wrong? Ugh. I'd been counting on sacrificing my health and happiness for a future god, you know, not a silent monk in waiting. Never mind. I'll find another way. I always do.
She fingers the mask, covering her face. For a moment, it seems as though she's about to remove it. But instead, she places a hand on your shoulder.
We've come a long way together. I did my best by you all the way. Sacrificed much. And I'd have given even more to see you fulfill your destiny.
She looks you up and down.
I guess this will have to do. Take a moment, why don't you? Relax, enjoy. I certainly plan to do the same. Oh, I don't know, around and about. Treat myself to some mead, a level 300. I'd say we've earned it. Perhaps our paths will cross again. Perhaps not, until we find out. If you'll excuse me.
Finally graced us with their presence. I suppose some thanks are in order. What? No, you should be thanking me. I just saved the world from the great Acorn. You're welcome, by the way. Honestly, some creatures have no sense of perspective.
A huge grin slowly spreads across the squirrel's small face.
Of course, had you not stopped this God King and his lackeys, there would have been very little left for me to say. So...
The cat moves forward, twisting around your legs and filling the air with the sound of dry, dusty purring.
Ah, quackers! Please, have a little decorum. This battle is won, my friend, but we still have a war to fight. We've undone the Great Acorn, but the Knights of Dre are still out there. They summoned the Great Acorn once. They will be able to summon it again. We have to destroy their order, once and for all. That is the future Quirkers and I have ahead of us. We no longer need the shield, but we are very happy. The honor is all mine. I pray we will not need to call, but I am grateful for the offer. I never thought I would be proud to have befriended a giant, but there is no one Crackers! There is no one that we would rather have walked this. I do not know what comes next for you, but you will always have a friend. Forest. Come, Quirkus. We must... Oh, I think you have something in your eye, my friend.
The cat curls up and snuggles into his squirrel friend, who quietly sits and sniffs on the deck. The purging that once silenced you remains on your mind as you approach Gareth. You are grateful for Malady's miraculous touch. Without it, there would be no you.
Amazing I'm still here. That you're here. And that you might still speak. That I only did what I was meant to do. I don't deserve thanks. I gave only the bare minimum. And still I strayed quite far.
Gareth shakes his head vigorously in response to his own emotions.
Self-pity is as dangerous as any man I have backed, Alexander included. In this new world, this world without the seven gods, it's a foe I plan to defeat for good. I find a way to fit. I wasn't just content to lurk in Lucian's shadow. I was his shadow. Now I stand in the sun as my own man. I just don't know who that man is. And so I find out. My goal is to have a goal. If that makes sense at all. And if it doesn't, well, that's all I've got.
A slight grin crosses the spirit's face. Whether her smile is sincere or not, you can't be sure.
You are a very, very, very lucky person. If Malady hadn't restored us, I'd be a drooling monstrosity, but a vengeful one. The realm is a lot more robust than some people give it credit for. It's probably survived much more than we'll ever even know. I don't know if anyone's free of anything, once and for all.
But I'm bloody thrilled to be here now. Just me, myself, and
you, of course. Get loot, play loot, get loot, get clad. So, Chief, I guess this is it, right? Well, I mean, you can always come with me. I mean, I'm just saying, it's an option. If you want, maybe? I still love you.
As she turns from you, the whites of her eyes darken, the veins in her face go grey, and a wicked smile curls her mouth. Suddenly, it's gone again. She winks, and you're left wondering whether you saw anything at all.
See you around.
Is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He leafs through it slowly, muttering to himself.
I see. Intriguing.
He glances up at you. Big, empty eye sockets taking in every detail.
Well, there you are. Another fine specimen of your kind. A little leaner than when we first met. And a little less divine than you'd hoped, I imagine. As do I, it seems. Whatever that life might be.
Fane looks back down to the book, a bony finger running across the embossed leather cover.
It could have been different, you know? I could have saved you. I could have found a way. I could have done more. So, perhaps could they? Had they decided to live in peace with the mortals of Riverlong, maybe we could have saved them. But they made their choices. And I made mine. No. I imagine you can't. I imagine no one can. But the cards were dealt. And my people got snake eyes. Or something. I never took the time to learn how the average Riverlonian entertained themselves. Then again, you are no average Riverlonian. Not after this. So, what do you think you'll do, now that we live in a source-free world? Indeed, I may be one of them. It seems we are all facing a brave new world.
The skeleton hefts Hubert's dog-eared encyclopedia, its weight heavy in his hands.
I've been rereading this book, looking over your history once again, poring over every detail with a new perspective, and do you know what? It's shit.
Fane tosses the book over his shoulder. It flutters in the air as it sails over the ship's railing and disappears with a faint splash.
If you have spent your life staring at a thing, you can write about it with knowledge. You can write about it with love. But it is almost impossible to write about it with wonder. You creatures have spent your lives trudging about this world, and you've grown blind to its miracles. Take otters, for example. Energetic, waterproof cats, utterly beautiful creatures. Or octopuses. Did you know they're secretly octopuses? Octopi? Octopods. I shall have to look that up. Regardless, the world is filled with absolutely incredible sights. And who better to catalogue them with the awe they deserve than someone seeing them for the first time? Do you know, there is the idea that nothing is ever truly created or destroyed. I suppose we are all Source, just in different forms. You being the cruder, less jewel-encrusted form, naturally. But my people were Source too, although we didn't know it at the time. And our Source helped create you. In a way, I was walking alongside the best version of them the entire time. In you, I found a home better than the one I was pining for. Thank you, Godwin.
Are you okay? You don't look okay.
Brushes detritus from his beard, sand, skin, and whatever else might have accumulated there. He takes a deep breath when he sees you.
I never thought I'd be smelling the sea breeze again. We'd all be shuffling around as silent monks right now, so the air seems extra sweet, if you get what I'm saying. More malady magicalness, I'm guessing.
Beast's lips twitch and his eyes glimmer.
So it's a story you want? Well, then it's a story you'll get. The beast of the sea rose triumphant, guiding his fellow Godwoken from an island prison to a final hurrah. He boarded the Lady Vengeance. Now, inexplicably whole due to magic a beast could never understand, and returned to his homeland. Then began the process of rebuilding, restoring trust, handing out hope, serving his people. Huh. Guess that one doesn't really end with a bang. But that's all right. You know, it's a work in progress.
The flaming hatchling bounces and cheeps out of sheer excitement.
Daddy! Daddy! Looky! At me!
It takes you a moment to realize the egg you've been carrying has hatched at long last. The chick trills contentedly and flaps its tiny feathers in recognition of its proud parent. It seems you've got a new mouth to feed.
Daddy!
Without source to shield it, the barriers between Nemesis and Rivellon weaken. The void may be kept at bay, but the plane of demons is not.
There's nothing interesting down there.
I am bidden to serve him, as promised once, and promised eternal. And so, as always, I am at the ready. Consider me to be a gift from Malady. My wood was splintered, but my spirit intact. It was a great feat, but given her skill, not a surprising one. I feel better than new.
You look out to the endless beyond. The sun's light plays upon the waves, just as it always did. The sails flutter in the wind, just as they always will. And yet, something is different. You are different. And with a start, you realize where you must go next. You speak the command to the Lady Vengeance, and another chapter begins. At last, the world was at peace. The ancient Lizard Empire opened its gates. The houses disbanded, and the Empire adopted a pluralist quasi-democracy. Anyone could vote for whoever they pleased, as long as the House of Shadows approved. Justinia returned to her throne. Under her rule, the Dwarven kingdom prospered, until 2 years later a jealous lover stabbed her in the heart with a mutton fork. Lucian made amends to the elves. He gave them lands and vast riches from the coffers of the old divine order. But the elves never forgave him. They would not trust humans again. And in a dark forest on the far side of a desert, well beyond the high seas, the Black Ring came together once more. The island of Fort Joy, the old redoubt of the Source King Brachus Rex, was turned over to the people of Driftwood to use as they wished. They turned it into a holiday resort. Reaper's Coast prospered. The fisheries returned, and the fertile farmlands produced the greatest harvests the surviving farmers had ever seen. Blood Moon Island became particularly fecund, its soil producing the greatest crops. A particularly crimson-fleshed orange grown on the island became a delicacy across half the world. The black pits took fire. The oil there burns still. Driftwood became a centre of industry, trade and transport. Lohar became mayor, and Brayton Barnes grew rich, until, after a public argument over import duties, Barnes died in an accident, buried under several tons of fish, and also stabbed in the back with a gutting knife. Lagan left his over-demanding wife and began a relationship with a local bard. In the spirit of loving generosity, he returned the ring to his now ex-wife. In a fit of rage, she threw it into the sea. The nameless isle had vanished. Although only open water remained, by instinct ships would steer clear. None of the captains could articulate why. Sir Gareth thanked the surviving Seekers for their service and gave them their freedom. Disillusioned with peace, he set out alone to find a new purpose. He would never stop seeking. Young Han went into the theatre and became one of the realm's most popular actors. With no new divine, Malady found herself in a predicament. She had an important problem to solve, but no ally strong enough to call upon, and so her search continued. With Amadia silent, the priestess Gratiana left the swamps and re-entered the world. She founded an abbey in the Dragonspine Mountains, offering the last of the undead shelter from fortune hunters, novelty seekers, and ghouls. Jehan the demon hunter found himself at a loose end. So he opened a museum of demonic artifacts. He made a fortune. With Lucian in power, Sahala took the elves away from the world. They grew strong once more amidst the trees of the regrown home forest. Some say her plans for revenge will bring about the end of days. Some say only Tova, her mother, holds her back. Lucian returned as divine, united the races, and became Lord Emperor of all Rivellon. Only Dallis knew that he was entirely powerless. Dallis and you. The Eternal, now known as Dallis, was a secret advisor to Lucian and to his successors. For eons she would walk in the world, and would outlive the peoples and all, and wander alone amongst the dying stars. The Beast of the Sea returned to the Dwarven Kingdom, not as a rebel, but as a lawmaker. Merciful and wise, he led the dwarves into an age of prosperity. His grave looks out over the sea. His run-in with his daughter set Fane on a new path. He travelled Rivellon, recording the wonders he discovered, but always kept a socket peeled for signs of the Eternals. He hoped to find the wife he'd lost, but he never did. Then again, he's still looking. Lohse returned to her music, and enjoyed a storied career as Rivellon's premier musician. Dark moods would at times overtake her, and she would spend long hours walking in the wilds. She always returned with a new song. And then there was you. You returned to the world as one more human among many. Your future was yours to decide. Did you accept your new status with humility, or did you rebel? Only you know the truth. Only you know if you atone for your sins.